a little too much to get him because changing this team around is not going to be that easy. I know Chris Paul, we talk about his contract. It's only half guaranteed for next year. In some ways, it's an attractive, tradable contract. But Chris Paul was actually a very stabilizing force for them. DeAndre Ayton is the guy that I think if they're going to try to get something and change around this roster, he's probably the one you look at. He didn't even play in this series when he was healthy. Jock Lansdale played him off the court.
Pablo Torre.
Tony, we said when this trade was made for Durant that this was an NBA finals or bust sort of a season, and now they're in a far more apocalyptic place. Last playoffs, let's recall, they got blown out in a Game 7 by about 30 to the Mavericks. They didn't even make it to a Game 7, and they lost by 20 in Game 6 in the second round again, with Kevin Durant, with their depth hollowed out to get that guy. So this has been disastrous for a new owner and for a new regime in every possible way. And you got to hold them to account. They went all in, and they busted in a way that's humiliating.
Say that. Hold them to account, because this entire path, after the finals 2 years ago, Phoenix, back-to-back years, down 30 at half of closeout games. I know Giannis has everybody considering the word failure recently. Israel, how do you characterize this Phoenix exit, and how do they begin to recover from this?
Are you asking how I feel about the Phoenix exit? No. Okay. Look. It is what it is. Like, they went all in with that pair, essentially, with the trio, if you count Chris Paul, but it's essentially for the long term with that pair, and they leave these playoffs basically with that. They're going to have to readdress everything about this roster outside of Durant and Booker, and that includes, if you're paying attention to reports, the idea that Chris Paul is going to be shopped this offseason. We already know the relationship with DeAndre Ayton wasn't great, and a lot of people saw, maybe part of the reason as to why in this series didn't really give that type of effort that the Suns were hoping for. So it's a rebuild around those two players, frankly, and for Kevin Durant, it's very important for him for that to succeed, because the moves that he's made since he left Oklahoma City, everybody's questioning. This one needs to work out.
Right. David Dennis Jr.
Yeah, they can make all those moves that they need to put some people around Durant and Booker, but this is really about Kevin Durant and what he's done since he's left that Warrior squad and what he's done in this series. At no point in this series, or really in the playoffs, would I look at him and say that he was the best player on the floor. And in this series, I'm not sure he was better than the third player.
Did you see his quote after the game? He goes, you know what I'm going to do this weekend? I'm going to watch my horses race in Copenhagen, my friends racing. I'm going to jump in the pool. I mean, like, he's a fun character if you actually just watch and listen to him.
Pablo Torre.
Look, he was drafted during I believe a Taco Bell commercial
that's
in the
true.
second round, and he ended up being the Cheeserito, I believe, was his origin story, and he ended up getting an MVP already. So I believe we're all aware that he's really, 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 really good at basketball. But the postseason is this cauldron where now it's going to flip. Yeah, go win your title. Do that, because that's the thing that's evading.
Gutierrez's last word.
Look, he's going to get his flowers, but they need to come with an apology note, because there were way too many people knocking him.
Your screen right now. We'll talk that and the destruction of the sun and the conclusion to the LeBron-Steph cinematic universe. Let's go.
I might be the humblest person. Many people are saying this.
From 1-14 to outscoring the Sixers in the fourth quarter by himself. That's the Jason Tatum roller coaster. Maybe that breaks him out of his slump. That'll be key for Boston. Sunday night, Game 7. Also for Boston. For the last 2 months, and you came back recently. You had Denver in the series?
Denver in 7.
Okay, all right.
You can check.
Yeah, you had it in the series, and then I take back the mute. I apologize. Let's talk about Denver, though. Respect for Jokic here. His points, rebounds, assist totals in this 6-game series is the second most by a player in the last 50 years. He was 1 point shy of LeBron in the 16 finals, which went 7 games. So I say that as news of the day yesterday. The voter who didn't have him in the top 5 in the MVP was found out to be ESPN's Mark Jackson. Jackson saying it was a mistake. You always hear about players saying, I was motivated by disrespect. I'm not sure if it's ever really the case anymore. David, is Jokic getting enough respect?
I think we're gaining more newfound respect for him because he is putting together the best playoff run of his career. That has always been the knock of him and his MVPs, that he hasn't had the playoff run. But so far, 31, 13, and 10, 55% from the field, 47% from three, and he played Ayton off the court. And let's not forget, that was Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns in the first round that he was doing this to. And, if he goes on, when they go in the next round, he's going to have either Draymond or Anthony Davis that is going to continue playing like this against. This is the definitive Jokic playoff run so far.
Mona Shelburne.
I don't know. They went to the Western Conference Finals in the bubble, and they played the Lakers and had a great run there and lost. So, to me, Jokic gets the respect when he gets to the finals, when he gets past that stage in his career. And I think he gets a ton of respect.
Here they go again on their own, going down the only road they've ever known. History hasn't been kind to them in this round of the playoffs, in Game 7s. Pablo Torre, I see you. But we're going to start with Ramona Shelburne here. What happened last night, Ramona?
Jason Tatum kept shooting. I mean, Jason Tatum would have had one of the all-time worst games in a closeout game there if he did not turn it around. And the fact that he kept shooting to go 1 for 14 and then score 16 points in the fourth quarter, especially down the stretch when things were tight and everybody was tight, for him to do that at the end, I thought saved the Celtics season.
Pablo Torre, yesterday on the show, you said this was a big game for you personally. You were so. Yeah. Well, now you're reaping what that is. Go ahead, please.
Tony, I'm a parent now. I have a 3-year-old, and I know that what my children on the Sixers need is not a scolding parent who's going to point out that Joel Embiid, you did in the history of the sport. You don't need me to tell you that. James Harden happens to be a person who disappears at the end of games. You just need me to remind you that your past does not need to be prologue. You have a whole new opportunity to do this different. Okay, it was just a Game 6. That's fine.
Okay,
you don't need to be who you were before.
There it is. Incredible gymnastic yoga pose from Pablo Torre here. How do you process the way they let that game get away from them last night, Pablo?
Yeah, it was the opposite of the Celtics. It was pressure seeping in ways that I thought this team had shed psychologically. And again, psychologically speaking, just reminding them, you don't need to be the person that everybody says you are. You really don't. I'm just talking to them now. Doc Rivers, you don't need to be that guy. You don't have to choke away a Game 7. You don't have to. It's totally possible that you win this.
It's possible this got too personal for Pablo Torre. Israel Gutierrez, let me cut to the chase. Did Philly just blow its chance, and did Boston just reclaim this series?
Well, early on, Tatum it was more to me shot selection. If you're struggling from outside, which he was, he continued to take outside shots, and that is more or so where he lives on the offensive end. So you kind of knew eventually those shots would fall for him. For Embiid in those final 4 minutes to not get a shot off, first of all, you would have taken any shot, but secondly, that's a lot of time to discuss, whether it be with James Harden, whether it be during a timeout with your coach, and recognize that the MVP needs the ball in his hands somewhere, and then everybody else is then guilt-free or burden-free, because if he fails us, then who else were we supposed to turn to? So it felt like a failure in them not really having a plan in what seemed to be a moment that they should be very prepared for. He's done this a while now in the second round, failing to come through.
David Dennis Jr., bring you in here.
You know how you don't have to worry about what Jason Tatum does in the fourth quarter? Is if you have a large enough lead going into the fourth quarter, which the 76ers should have had. If Tatum goes 1 for 14 through 3 quarters, you should have a part like they have fallen apart. And what was most alarming is that about a minute 30 seconds, minute 45 seconds left, the 76ers were down about 8 points. Harden misses a shot. Him and Embiid hang their heads and just jog up the court like the game is already over. And it felt like they were saying that the series is already over because they gave up.
It sounds like you think this is a wrap, that Philly blew its shot, and now Boston has reclaimed the series. Who you got Sunday, David?
Well, if it makes Pablo feel better, the 76ers have as good a chance of winning Game 7 as a 16 seed has of beating a 1 seed.
Okay. All right, that was a little personal, but hey, that happened this year. Ramona, let me ask you, who you got Game 7?
Okay, I'm going to go with the Sixers, okay? And I'm doing this for my friend Pablo Torre because you are obviously having a hard time trusting the process. I have a hard time trusting the Celtics. I mean, I just heard Marcus Smart in a winning locker room flat out say, Joe finally made an adjustment by putting Robert Williams III out there. And then he goes, he's been getting killed. No, this series has been so weird, and I can go all Joseph Campbell, hero's journey. The Sixers, if they're ever going to do it, have to beat Boston because they never beat Boston. So why not?
Okay, so hero's journey, Joseph Campbell. You can go Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness here, Pablo Torre. Who you got Sunday?
Yeah, a little apocalypse now right now for me, but I think trust is appropriate. This team is better. Tony, this team, the Sixers are a better team than the Celtics. except for the moments when they are looking.
You guys are doing landscaping here. The hedging. Israel, give me a pick, and we're going to move on.
I'm going to take the Celtics. I don't feel great about it. I feel like they've got more versatility. If things
That's
are going
more hedging. I don't care
There's a
how you
hedge.
feel about it. I love
hedge.
how much we appreciate each other's feelings. I really do. But it toss up with his rib injury. So start there and then gut check Shelburne. How will tonight be decided?
Well, I think Andrew Wiggins plays a big role in this because his injury, he's got a fracture of the cartilage, which is basically near your sternum. Plays through it. If he has to wear a flak jacket in this, it's going to be hard for him to shoot. I think all he has to do is focus on defense because he's been great for them.
You believe
on LeBron James
they
and
need
in that pick and
Wiggins,
roll.
full Wiggins, 100% Wiggins in order to win tonight.
Yeah, I think you need defensive Wiggins more than you need offensive Wiggins. If you can give them anything, I think they have a chance. If not, Lakers in 6.
David Dennis Jr.
Actually, they think they need all Wiggins. Like, this series is going to go to where Wiggins and Anthony Davis are with their health. When the Lakers switched Anthony Davis onto Wiggins and the Warriors countered that with the Wiggins-Steph pick and roll, they opened up that floor. Anthony Davis has not had a block in 2 games. And so if Wiggins cannot function offensively with that injury, that is going to be a huge setback for the Warriors. But if he's at 100%, I think the Warriors can take this back to
Okay. No one has really mentioned Curry or Clay or even Draymond. It's all Wiggins right now. Israel Gutierrez, turn to you.
I'm in agreement that Wiggins needs to be two things. One, Anthony Davis's health and being in question perhaps, and the fact that it's Game 6, and I think you're going to see a very aggressive version of LeBron James, one you haven't seen necessarily at the beginning of these last few games, and I think he's going to sort of try to take us on most of the burden for this team.
Pablo Torre.
But the question for the Warriors is simple. Who was the second best player behind Steph Curry? And we've thrown a couple candidates. Andrew Wiggins, by the way, 16 points in the paint in Game 5 was excellent. Draymond Green, when he scores at least 20 points, they're 48 and 10 in their run together as this dynasty. And then, of course, you have Klay Thompson. In Game 6, Klay is a thing. Let's remember this. So one of those guys needs to be the second best player on the team in a way that does not make it embarrassing that guy would be so far behind the guy who obviously is going to need to stir the drink.
Tonight or Sunday could be the last time we get Curry versus LeBron. And you guys just spent half your time talking about other guys. It's an amazing place we're in right now. Who you got tonight, Pablo Torre?
I have the Warriors because I believe it.
I'm going to say the Lakers.
You don't have
That's what
to
they did the last
you don't have to
series,
say
too.
begrudgingly. All right, we'll move on. Knicks Heat Game 6. Miami to close out. New York to survive. Watch the minutes in this one. Over under 47 for Brunson or Grimes or Butler. Ankles are turning to sawdust in this series. All gas, no rollates. Pablo, what do you buy? What do you sell tonight?
I am buying that the Knicks need a 48-minute performance from their big three, that being Quentin Grimes, Jalen Brunson, and Scott Foster. When he is officiating Miami Heat games, they've lost 10 in a row. So,
Is
yeah,
that right?
they need everybody to contribute.
How does everybody have
10 in
this
a row.
stat on the ready? I mean, everybody feels Scott Foster's out to get our team.
Just a
Who's
little.
winning these games if everybody's lost 10 in a row? All right, Israel Gutierrez.
I'm buying that the Miami Heat are going to find a way to get Jimmy Butler more shots. The Knicks sent some more attention to him defensively. Jimmy only got 12 shots up in that last game. He's going to get his shots up. He's going to get his numbers in the Heat.
And if you're going to be that guy next season, that is your only chance for winning the championship.
Ramona Shelburne.
Yeah, especially when you're 34 years old already, and you gave the
Throws all that work, and you still need 48 minutes from Brunson. I'm going with the Heat.
Shelburne.
Yeah, Miami. I don't. Nothing from the Knicks has made me feel like they're the better team in this series. Now they're on the road. Miami closes out tonight.
All right. The Scott Foster stat. Every team has the same stat.
I call him the extender.
I
That's
get
the
it.
nickname,
I
the
get it.
extender.
So that's why Pablo's taking it. But nobody feels great. Oh, we got Foster. All right. We're 10-0 with him. No one ever says that. Shelburne, thanks for your time today. Ooh. Pablo Torre got the minus 21. A little bit blackjack situation in an opposite universe. David Dennis Jr. is Israel Gutierrez. Showdown next.